Welcome to HDIN Research. Today, we're performing a forensic audit on two giants you interact with every single day, probably without knowing it. One runs the ATMs where you get your cash. The other builds the scanners that tracked your last Amazon package. But behind the 2025 annual reports, we found a structural split so deep, it's changing the rules of the game. This isn't just a financial review. It's a survival guide for the 2026 tech landscape. Let's dive in. The recovery is a mirage. That's a bold claim, right? But here's the reality. While both companies are flashing green on their revenue charts, one of them is actually fighting a silent war against a de-cashified world. It's like bragging about selling the best horse carriages, just as the Model T starts rolling off the assembly line. We're going to show you who's truly making bank and who's just rearranging deck chairs on a very expensive ship. Let's talk about the gray Rhino in the room. ZBRA is growing fast, but they've got what I call Goodwill overload. Imagine buying a house for $1 million, but the actual bricks and mortar are only worth $100,000. The rest is just good vibes and brand name. That's ZBRA right now. On the other side, Diebold Nixdorf is living in a sunset industry. They have a massive service shield, but as bank branches disappear faster than your motivation on a Monday morning, that shield is getting thinner. If 2025 taught us anything, it's that where you build matters as much as what you build. ZBRA is heavily dependent on Asian assembly lines. One bad day in the Taiwan Strait, and their supply chain turns into a ghost town. Meanwhile, DN has some, let's say, complicated friendships. They are deeply tied to Chinese partners who are currently on Washington's naughty list. If those partners get blacklisted, DN's tech could go dark overnight. De-risking sounds professional, but in reality, it's just a fancy word for it's getting way more expensive to make stuff. ZBRA is moving factories out of China, which is great for politics but terrible for their wallet. Every factory they move is a direct hit to their margins. It's the price of safety, but man, it's a high price to pay. Size matters, but growth matters more. ZBRA is currently pulling in over $5 billion, enough to buy every person in New York a high-end Tesla and still have change for lunch. They are outpacing DN by a huge margin. DN is growing at a turtle's pace of 1.5%, while ZBRA is sprinting at over 8%. Why? Because ZBRA is buying growth through acquisitions, while DN is basically relying on currency fluctuations to look good. Look at this map. DN is basically a European bank's best friend. Over half their money comes from the EMEA region, mostly Germany. ZBRA is much more balanced. Why does this matter? Because if the Eurozone sneezes, DN gets a pneumonia. ZBRA has a much better geographical immune system. ZBRA's moat is their massive partner network, 10,000 partners. That's like having an army of sales reps you don't have to pay a salary. DN's moat is sticky hardware. Once a bank installs a DN ATM, it's like a bad marriage. It's too expensive and painful to leave. But here's the kicker. ZBRA is spending 11% of their sales on R&D, while DN is spending just 2%. One is building the future, the other is maintaining the past. This is the wow slide. Look at that gap. ZBRA's profit margin on their products is nearly 50%. For every dollar they sell, they keep 50 cents before expenses. DN is struggling at 25 cents. Why? Because ZBRA is selling smart software and DN is selling heavy metal. In 2026, software is the gold mine. Hardware is just the shovel. Let's look at the housekeeping. ZBRA makes way more money, but here's the shocker. DN spends almost the same amount on interest payments as ZBRA does, even though ZBRA is twice as big. DN is carrying a backpack full of rocks, debt, making every step uphill much harder. ZBRA is traveling light. Back to that Goodwill problem, $4.7 billion. That is a massive, ticking time bomb on ZBRA's balance sheet. If their recent acquisitions don't perform perfectly, they'll have to write off billions. It's like realizing that expensive vintage car you bought is actually just a kit car. This is the #1 risk for ZBRA investors. Both companies are trying to be AI companies now. DN has Vynamic to catch shoplifters, and ZBRA has Edge to manage warehouses. But remember the R&D numbers we saw earlier? ZBRA is bringing a tank to a knife fight. Their AI is being integrated into the core of the supply chain, while DN's AI feels more like a nice-to-have add-on. Time for some cold water. DN is using fresh start accounting. In plain English, they hit the reset button on their books after bankruptcy, so you can't really compare this year to last year. It makes their recovery look better than it actually is. ZBRA? They are spending nearly $600 million buying back their own stock, while their actual profit is falling. That's usually a sign that management is trying to prop up the stock price because the business itself is stalling. Where are we going? By late 2026, we'll see if Zebra's reshoring worked or if it just broke their margins. For DN, the big test is the 2026 refinancing. If interest rates stay high, that rock-filled backpack of debt might finally become too heavy to carry. Here's a math trick. Zebra has $2 billion in variable debt. That means if the Fed raises rates by just 1%, Zebra loses $20 million in profit instantly. Boom, gone. DN actually played this smart. Their debt is fixed. They are immune to rate hikes for now. It's the one area where the old-school company outsmarted the tech company. The final verdict: Zebra is the growth king with the high-tech engine, but they are driving a car made of Goodwill on a road full of variable interest rates. DN is the service shield. They are slow, heavy, and stuck in the past, but they have a very stable foundation in European banking. So what's the play? If you want high upside growth and believe in the AI-driven supply chain, Zebra is your horse. Just watch that impairment risk. If you want a value play and trust the old world banks won't disappear tomorrow, DN is worth a look. But for both, the message is clear. The era of easy growth in Asia is over. Reshoring is the new survival skill. Thanks for watching this HDIN Research deep dive. If you want the full-page forensic audit of these companies or other sector leaders, visit us at HDINresearch.com or shoot an email to sales@HDINresearch.com. We don't just read the news, we audit the future. See you in the next report.